Hey y'all, welcome to the Feeling Station. It's been an interesting day in the market, y'all. So in this video, we're gonna do more or less like a market recap, right? For today. So let me go ahead and give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And yes, the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. With that being said, let's get started. We are looking at the SPY, y'all, and I like to start on this 30-minute chart, right? Because I can see it from a different view. Now, pre-market, this is how we were trading, just sideways. Well, as soon as the bell rung, this is our 9:30 candle. Seems like we came down, bounced off this area that we had been at before pre-market. We bounced off of this area only to continue to the upside. Looking at it again on this 30-minute chart, 5 and 50 crossing. I like to see that, right? So we are moving to the upside. What's interesting is once we made this high here of 5, let's say 89.49, high of this candle, once we made this high, some sellers were there to bring that price right back to the downside, only to move sideways. So if you traded this, that would have been just we're going to go to a smaller time frame just to see if we can find some scalping opportunities. Again, looking at it on this 30-minute chart, we see that SPY just basically moved sideways, and that was just interesting, right? So again, now we are looking at the SPY on this 5-minute chart, and I like to start with my 30-minute again so I can see it from a different view, only to come down to a smaller time frame, which is my 5-minute chart. And I am now, this is that, moving sideways, what we would have seen pre-market. This here is that bounce that we talked about previously, just a minute ago. And we went up only to come back down, that ATR trail and stop. So I had this level of 585.56 marked. Let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger. This area here, there we are, 585.56. I had that level marked as an area of support, and as you can see now, that is where the ATR trail and stop is. So SPY, we found that as an area of support. We bounced from there. Let's look for some signals that we could have looked for to enter this trade back to the upside after coming. We bounced here to the upside, got rejected on this level here. We knew that we could possibly have trouble there, right? 586.67. We knew that that could be a trouble place. We got rejected only to come back down. What I don't like to see is these moving averages jumbled and mumbled together like that. That is not a good signal for me. There's no confirmation in that for me. So I have to wait until I can see it clearly before I enter the trade, right? So again, looking at it on this 5-minute chart, there is a candle that immediately sticks out for me looking again at this, and that would be right here. In my opinion, that is a hammer. Yes, it does have a little small wick at the top. However, what's important is it is bouncing off of support. So the two lines here, this green line and this red line, is what my charts generate 15 minutes of the day every day, and that's the ORB, opening range breakout. So it gives me kind of like a support and resistance of the first 15 minutes of the market, and you can change that for whatever time frame that you would like, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, however you choose. I choose the 15 minutes because that is how I was trained, right? So again, this candle is a hammer bouncing off of support. So that ORB low is a support area. Look what our MAC or our 5 EMA and our 50 EMA started to cross here. So I have this candle and this here that's telling me, I'm going to see if I can make that a little bit bigger so that, without actually, there we are. Okay, so this candle, this 5 and 50 crossing, that is a signal for me to enter the trade to the upside, right? Now, my MACD, I'm going to go zoom back out really quick so we can see what this MACD here. The MACD was giving me a signal here at around the same time. So I have 3 things that's telling me it's okay to enter the SPY back to the upside. One, we're bouncing off of support, this green hammer off of support, breaking out. Remember, we're under the 5 EMA, so there's another signal, right? Under the 5, this candle puts us back over the 5, right? So I have this candle here 5 and 50 crossing here. MACD has already crossed and separating. I like to see that. So I would enter the SPY based on making a high from this area here. My entry would have been somewhere around here. And as you can see, price stayed above the 5 EMA, which is this blue line here. We stayed above the 5 EMA, which our MACD is giving us a signal still. It's separating, it's moving. I like to see that. So I would have entered my trade and stayed in my trade based on the confirmations that I already have. The bouncing off of support, 5 and 50 crossing, MACD separating, has already crossed here. That's confirmation. Yes, we did have a little trouble. You know, there was a trouble area here. However, we never came down and closed under my 5 EMA. My MACD did not get closer together. So those are things that I would have been watching for, if this trade was to go against me based on my reason for getting in, right? So again, we're above the 5 EMA. So if I would have entered this trade around the 586.50 area, so from 586.50 or 58, let's say even if we didn't get in until 586.79, we're still above the 5 EMA, still making higher highs, still moving up all the way up to this 589.49. Our MACD is still moving up. We start flattening out in this area here, and as you can see, look where price start, we're having some issues here. Let me see. Yes, this candle's telling me, and that pivot to that 5 EMA there's another signal. We're having issues there. Look what our MACD, it gave us a signal right here. So we got to pay attention to the signals, right? Whatever you choose to use, make sure you pay attention to the signals, right? So there is a signal. We just have to make sure that we understand that. So MACD has crossed back to the downside. So if I'm in the upside of this trade, I need to be careful. Why? Because it's already giving me signals that we're coming back to the downside. And I like to say that this is a double top. Again, looking at this on this 5-minute chart, this candle and this candle are really close to one another. Yes, there is a wick, but look where the body of this candle is. So to the upside, I do not need to be in the upside any longer based on what I'm seeing now, right? So I want to lock in my profit and not give any of it back. So as you see here, I'm going to say that this is a double top. There's one signal. This pivot here is what I like to say. That's another signal. My candle is now under the 5 EMA. Candles are under the 5 EMA. Another signal, right? Lower lows, another signal. MACD crossing, another signal. So I have a lot of signals that it would have been okay to enter this to the downside. However, the blue dotted lines here is my ATR trailing stop. That means if I would have entered this trade, I could have very well found support here and bounced back to the upside. So I would have been very, very careful. I'm going to zoom out just so that we can see that. If I would have entered this trade here, it would have been for a very quick scalp, meaning in here, probably here, and out before this area here, because that's it's creating a gathering spot, and I don't like to trade this area here. So I'm not even sure I would have even taken this trade based on bouncing off of this support area here, because it could have very well found support here and moved up higher. So that's something to be mindful of, right? So as of now, I would not have traded this area here for the SPY. It did give me a signal for the crossing, right? However, we're still we're at the 5 EMA high. It's not moving up making higher highs or moving down making lower lows until we get to this area here, only to find support here and move back to the upside slightly, which we did not make a new high from this area. So I would definitely say this is a place that I don't think I would want to trade the SPY. And that sometimes it's okay to not make those trades. Sometimes it's okay to just sit on the sideline. So after that one trade here with the SPY, that would have been a nice trade for me to the upside. That sideways movement, as what we did here, I don't like to trade that. And again, I do like to look for the 5 and 50 crossing, MACD crossing, which we got that the MACD crossing here. However, we did not have other confirmations. I like to use at least 2 or 3 confirmations as to why I am entering the trade. So if you traded the SPY today, I say congratulations. Now, what I like to see at the end of the day for the SPY, between 2, 3, yeah, look for this bouncing off of support here, 3 higher highs, MACD cross. That could have been a scalp, only to not go far, right? Because we traded sideways from there. In my opinion, I look for, profitable trades that could very well, and based on the pattern that we had today, I don't think that this would have been a good place for me to be trading the SPY. So I would have taken, maybe just again sitting on the sidelines today in this area. In my opinion, that is what I would have done. So today I chose to trade Tesla. Tesla is, I say often, Tesla is Tesla. What I didn't like, I'm going to go to the 30-minute chart for Tesla. What I didn't, let's say we made a high, we gathered in this area. This is a gathering spot for us on this 30-minute chart. Pre-market, we ran up to that 349, only to come back down. We found support on this 20 EMA here. So when the bell rung, we broke through that level only to bounce off of this ATR trail and stop here. Let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger. We bounced off of this ATR trail and stop only to come back to the upside. Sellers were right there again to bring that price back to the downside. So in my opinion, Tesla was interesting. I would have been hesitant or careful, looking again on this 30-minute chart, making a trade until, I had another signal or other confirmation. So on this 30-minute chart, it looks like this could have been a double top, right? These two, the bodies of this candle and this candle is kind of like the same. So let's see if we can go to a smaller time frame, because based on what I'm seeing here, it's like, we have to wait on Tesla, right? So again, confirmation as to it was just too many. I don't like to see the moving averages bumbled and jumbled together like that. And I need a clear direction as to which way it wants to go, instead of, no, that's not going to work. So I would not have wanted to trade any of this here. Now, this would have been a double bottom here for Tesla, as you can see, bouncing off of this level here. And we have like a little pivot. I don't know if you can see that little kind of like small V, that I count that as a pivot for the MACD. So that could have been a confirmation for an entry, double bottom, 5 and 50 crossing. It gave me a little pivot here with the MACD, higher highs. So we could have very well above the 5 EMA now versus under the 5 EMA. So back to the upside, that could have been a scalp for Tesla. But again, as you can see, we didn't move, in my opinion, right? So I'm going to zoom back out because my trade for Tesla was to the downside. So what made me enter that trade to the downside? Here is a great example of, this area here. We're having trouble. I had this level of 344.29. We're getting rejected in this area. And as you can see, look what our MACD, it's really, really close right here. But look how it begins to separate here. So I'm getting some signals now that it's okay to trade Tesla possibly to the downside. I have a double top here. I have a separation of my MACD lines. I am making lower lows. So am I going to enter Tesla at this point? That's something to be mindful of. Even though these lines mean I could very well find support at those places, I still could have entered the trade based on the 5 and 50 crossing, the MACD crossing here. I am making lower lows. So would I have wanted to stay in this trade? Tesla trades are normally weekly positions. So I had a little time to work with instead, versus the SPY, same day expiration or the next day expiration, right? Because in that case, time is not it's not your friend. It is definitely a major factor, right? So again, looking at Tesla, this area of moving sideways, it would have been okay to enter the trade to the downside. We definitely needed to be careful because Tesla found support. I'm going to see if I can mark this area. Tesla found support in this zone here. As you can see, price just gathered right here for a while. Now we broke out of that, made lower lows here, only to come and find support right at this ORB low for the day. That is our support area. So if we did not get in Tesla at this area, we have broken through a level of support and made lower lows, and we're under our Fibonacci retracement line too. So Tesla gave us a signal, in my opinion. I have to zoom back out. Tesla gave us a signal here, looking at the MACD crossing, double top area here that we could have entered this to the downside under the 5 EMA, MACD crossing, 5 and 50 crossing, making lower lows. Those are things that I definitely would have been looking at for Tesla. Now let me show you where I would have gotten out of this trade. When we got to this area here, we have a double bottom again on this 5-minute chart, red flag, right? So if I'm on the downside of this, I gotta have a double bottom. That's why it's important to look at multiple time frames, your 2-minute, 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute. If you're in the trade, you need to definitely pay attention to what's going on. This double bottom here lets me know that we could very well start reversing, and that's exactly what we did. My MACD gave me a signal right here with this crossing, and it started moving, separating just a little bit, and look, we're making higher highs. So I do not need to be to the downside of this trade based on it's giving me a reversal signal with this double bottom and 3 higher highs, MACD crossing, that we're getting ready to go back to the upside. So I would have been out of the trade here only to enter possibly back to the upside here because my MACD has crossed and they are separated, and we have another confirmation as to higher highs. So that would have been another way for me to scalp Tesla back to the upside. Now, what's interesting is this 5 and 50 crossing. So I have a few confirmations to where it's okay to enter, be in the upside of this trade. I'm above my 5 EMA. My MACD has crossed down here. 5 and 50 has crossed here. I have several higher highs that it's making here back to the upside. Now, the important part, let me say that, is, or the discipline part, is being able to recognize that my pattern has shifted and gotten out of the trade instead of hoping that it's going to come back in my direction. My charts are telling me that Tesla is reversing here, that it's changing here. So it's time to get out versus trying to stay in. Lock in the profit, get out, and go back and try to find another position, right? So those are very, very helpful tips. Helpful tips. And I always look back over the market and say, what can I learn today? Or where could I have gotten in? And I use that as a learning guide for me. Every single day I go back and I replay, I look over the charts and say, okay, this is what I could, and there's places where I actually missed it, where you had a signal here and you didn't get out. So that's why I say it's very important that you pay attention to the signs. Your charts are telling you a story, and what's important is learning how to read the language. That is always important. So yeah, and y'all listen, I look at these videos. I do these videos. I look at the charts only because this is how I see the market. And again, I'm a visual learner. I like to see things in front of me, and it's so easy to see it when it's in real time, right? So yeah, I hope that everyone had a very profitable and a very, very productive day today, y'all. If possible, if you could please like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Why? Because we learn and we grow together. So until next time, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others.